Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I wanted to mention that I may have to leave at any time. So today is kind of a free session, answer questions, that kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I figured as much. And so Catherine and I are here, no problem. We're here to pick up where you drop off. But I do have one thing I want to throw out there, Yuri.
Yeah.
So I just read this statistic to Catherine. It says Canadian cities have seen up to 92% of new supply going to investors.
Say it again.
It says Canadian cities have seen up to 92% of new supply going to investors.
That's I'm not surprised. That's kind of correct.
How is so only 8% going to
bills? Bills.
What's that?
Yeah.
So think about all those homes up at the top of the Red Hill. It's Red Hill, right on Upper
Right.
Red Hill Parkway.
Yeah.
That's what they're calling it. There's got to be 1,000 new homes up in there. When you are the doors, right? Because you're talking about some house condos and all that. And let's say there's 1,000. 920 are investment properties. What kind of neighborhood does that give you?
How does somebody compete with that? How does somebody who is leaving home and they want to get a house?
I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. The 92% sells a lot better than 50% or 70%. So that could be a little bit exaggerated, right? So, and again, it's all depending on the pockets, depending on the price point. The neighborhood that you mentioned most likely is not 92% because
Right.
those houses are 900,000, something like that, or 800. Not everybody can afford that kind of thing.
Right.
And keep in mind, at $900,000, that property does not cash flow, period. So it wouldn't be a wise investment to begin with. Unfortunately, there is pure speculation where the people just buy it, wait for 2 years, and rent it for 1 year, and then sell it at that point. So that's basically what's going on there. Not true investment, but it is still. Well, it's a pure speculation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you look at the same things going on. More investors going into the lower end, like even condos, where it could still be affordable in a sense that it will cash flow or break even, right?
Right.
So from that perspective, yes, those are like, look at the Charlton, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that could be 90% offsite owners.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that was, we're talking about that property where those properties were sold. Most of them, 95% were sold, 98%, I guess, were sold back in 2017.
Yeah. They're all sold now, by the way.
Well, oh yeah, they're all sold. Like I watched it, and all of a sudden there was 4 or 5 units, and they were anywhere from $450 to $1 million, and all those units were boom sold in one day. Literally, like 1 or 2 days. So either some firm came in and bought it, or maybe just coincidence, and everybody just, you know what, we got to buy something. So because they were sitting on the market for a while. I'm talking about like 60, 90, 100 days, 120 days, something like that. So people thought they're overpriced. All of a sudden, they were good.
So they're already reselling them for a profit, it sounds like.
Well, most likely they will be reselling for a profit. Yes. So like I said, right now they sold similar units to mine. Not similar, same unit to mine at 620. I can bet you I can sell it for 650, 680 or something like that right now because there's nothing on the market.
And that's a 200.
Oh, go ahead.
What kind of increase is that, Yuri? Like a 200,000?
I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's what's really interesting is that it's saying here that that Ontario has seen investors buy 1 in 3 new homes. But we're not just talking about Toronto, right? We're talking about places like Hawkesbury. I don't even know where that is, in Elliott Lake. They have the highest percentage of investors. Elliott Lake.
Who would buy there, honestly, to live?
I don't know
So,
who.
I mean, that's a good, very good area for summer. It's dead in the winter.
Oh,
Period. Dead, right? So you're on Elliott Lake.
Yeah.
It's a great lake. Awesome, awesome location. But that's what you want to do. You wanna come in there. You wanna basically buy it, renovate it. Like that's what Scott McGillivray does. Renovate your dream vacation property, kind of, right?
mhm.
But you rent it.
Yeah.
You're renting it maybe from late May to October, right? Normally it's June, July, August, September. So 4 months. I mean, they're charging depending on the thing, but anywhere between 1,500 per week to 3,000 per week or 5,000 per week,
That's
depends on what it is, right?
Yeah.
So
They
that
make enough.
5,000. What's that?
Sorry, I was just going to ask, could an investor make that, like, could they make enough in rentals, say, over the late spring into the early fall, say, again, June, July, August, and September, hell, let's even say till Thanksgiving, could they make enough revenue from that to, like, at least cover, like, the mortgage and the property taxes and all that stuff for the rest of the year?
In ideal circumstances, yes.
Yeah. But you know what else? I've noticed that people, we were looking to rent a cabin over Christmas to New Year's, and you can't find a cabin to rent over Christmas. They're booked, right? So I think.
Yeah,
Sorry?
we booked a cottage last summer out in Sealy's Bay, which is north of Kingston, because Angel's family's from that area. And before we left, we already had to put our deposit down for next year's summer rental.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. They book for sure, but the you got to look at the other things as well. They weren't here while you're not there. You may come to a surprise where raccoons got in, got into your house, got into your boat. There's all kinds of things, right? Those are not fun surprises. And every year you're gonna have to open it up and close it down for the winter. Doesn't make sense. I've seen some people renting it for 3 days for Christmas, for New Year's, that kind of stuff. To me, it's not worth it. Like, you can charge $1,000, but then by the time you open it, close it, to go there, pay someone to clean it, or don't have to clean it, I guess, until you open it up afterwards. But I don't think it's just worth it to open it up in the wintertime, right? Because you got to heat the place and, prepare for stuff. Sorry, guys, I got to go. So if you could take over, that would be great.
All right. Catherine's in charge.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Catherine, you're it.
Hi, Yuri.
Bye.
Yeah.
I
Okay, so let's take a look at some of those places that I was mentioning there, Catherine. So it has Hawkesbury. I don't even know where that is. Does anybody know where Hawkesbury is?
I'm trying to get up a thing here.
Okay, so Hawkesbury is number 1, Elliott Lake, Kenora, and then you've got Kitchener, Waterloo, and then Barrie, Woodstock, Collingwood, and then Toronto and Leamington. So that kind of rounds out the top, I think, 10 there. Hamilton is right underneath Leamington, so we'll stop at Hamilton. So can you imagine, these are the places that people are like, I don't know why anybody would drive all the way to Kenora, because that's not close. Kenora is like 17 hours from here, right? So, but that's where the majority of new real estate is owned by investors, right? Actually, it doesn't even say new. It says Ontario residential real estate owned by investors, and the share of Ontario's non-owner occupied housing stock by city grew by date, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and new construction, they're saying, are homes that are completed after 2016. So, Hawkesbury,
Is that
Elliott,
because it's cheap up there?
It's got to be cheap. but I've looked
Just
at
before the
places.
Quebec border.
Oh, wow.
That's why.
That's true. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's beyond, I saw it's Ottawa anyway. Yeah,
Hawkesbury is way out there. So
Yeah.
that's where people are buying and investing in homes. Right?
Looks
The
like the
outskirts,
population
it's,
is around
you know,
10,000 people.
so what was that, Sheila?
It looks like the population is just over 10,000 people. It says 10,000, over 10,000 inhabitants are, oh, maybe not then, are francophone. And when I zoomed in on the map, there was actually a hospital. So
Okay, so
it's not like small.
yeah.
Which means there's a lot of room to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing around it. And if you, it's funny because like I zoomed in too, Sheila, and it looks as though there's a lot of like amenities, but like kind of outside of the town. So I think I'm wondering if investors are seeing it. Yeah, like there's a small airport.
Is there a lake?
Well, it's right on the Ottawa River.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, like if you look at it on,
You're on mute. You're on mute, Nathan.
sorry, it's just east of Ottawa, right on the border.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, but there's like a lot of little amenities, like a Canadian Tire and all that kind of stuff. So I bet you investors are seeing that as a town that's going to sort of expand because of its proximity to the border, its proximity to Ottawa. Like it's kind of like a next.
Mhm.
It's almost like a next what Hamilton would be like to Toronto.
I wonder because Elliott Lake, oh man, my son probably, okay, I'm going to say 25 years ago, was touted as a developing for seniors.
Oh.
Right, go here to retire. And so when they were doing that, my husband went, well, healthcare must be booming up there. So we went up to see if we could find something because it would be cheaper housing and all that. And they weren't that forward thinking yet. They were just there to pull in the seniors. And they didn't care about anything else. And because of its proximity to nothing in Elliott Lake, right? It didn't fly. So now they're using it as a rental for seasonal, right?
Right.
So Hawkesbury looked like it was a good distance though from Ottawa, was it not?
It doesn't look too bad.
Is it a commuting
I'd say-
distance?
Well, here, let's go
Within an hour?
directions from Ottawa. From Ottawa to Hawkesbury is an hour and 14 minutes.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. So yeah, depending on what side of wherever you're going, yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's
can
all
be a commuter town.
it's all on the south. Well, it's obviously all on the south side of the river because of the border. But I mean, you're basically going east until the border, and then. But the other thing too is it's almost equal distance between Montreal and Ottawa. Like if you drew a straight line from Ottawa to Hawkesbury, and then from Hawkesbury to Montreal, like at least the downtown core of Montreal, it almost looks the same. So it's you've kind of got
Wow.
the novelty of being able to jump the border to go to Montreal, being able to stay in the province if you want to go to Ottawa. Because I mean, there's obviously a lot of touristy stuff in the city there,
Mhm.
Yeah.
especially if you're a trucker. But anyway, there's lots. It's close proximity to a lot of things. Sorry, was that too soon?
Yes, it's okay. That's okay.
That was funny.
Just a chuckle, just a chuckle.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, you can still get a house down there for $3, right? Sorry, Teresa, you're going to say?
No, I was just saying it was funny. I was okay with it. Timing was good, Nathan.
Yeah. You can still get a house down there for $300,000. That's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. That's not bad, right?
No.
But I mean, some of those houses, though, they don't look any different than the $300,000 ones, and they're going for $6. So maybe that's an investor
Yeah.
property, right?
Well, and I think too, it's kind of standing where the narrative is going, right? I mean, for the last 10 years, investors have been thinking, I want to get out of the GTA, I want to get out of the downtown core, I want to commute outwards. So investors have been buying, property here, property in Mississauga, property in Burlington, Oakville, Brantford, Niagara.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, where's the next hot place, I guess you could say, to get a good return on the actual value of the house, not so much. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to rent those, I would think, because you are still kind of in a remote area. But
But you know what's really, really interesting, Nathan, is that, you know, we drive, we road trip all over the place. And I'll tell you, when you get into some of these small towns have incredible amenities now, right? It's before, you know, you're in a small town, you had to go to the big city to be able to get something. But today, I mean, you go into a place like Elliott Lake, which I think is a small town, you know, they got a mall, I mean, you know, everybody knows about the mall, right? Because of the little accident they had.
Yeah.
But, you know, but these towns have a lot of things going on. And, you know, I was looking at the minimum requirement in population to put in a Tim Hortons, right? I think it's like 1,800 people or something, right? So
They must have 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I didn't even know they had Tim Hortons had a criteria like that.
Yeah, it has to have a certain amount of people. But the point is, or traffic, right? These towns, you can live really, really comfortably if you can get a nice enough property, right?
Yeah. How do you think Jarvis? I mean, you know, we get into some towns and we're like really surprised, but we used to go up north on the Bruce, and Wyerton forever did not have a Tim Hortons, right? Yeah. Or sorry, it was the last Tim Hortons. No, it wasn't one in what it was Hepworth, because it was where you go to Sabo. That's right. And then the Tim Hortons showed up in Wyerton. You know, the last couple of years we were going up there, and that's about 10. I'm only talking about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's probably packed all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because finally, because the one at the intersection of going up to Wyerton or over to Sabo,
right.
We used to back up on the on Highway 6.
So I have a question. I do have a question for everybody here, because everybody knows that Toronto is the big magnet in Ontario. That's the big city, right? How many of us go into Toronto regularly?
Pre-COVID or
pre-COVID? Pre-COVID.
I used to go all the time.
All the time. All right. So then the question then is, how far out would you go from that hub?
Probably here.
Here. Yeah. So like within an hour of Toronto is kind of where we feel safe. When you start to go outside of that hour, right, then you start to feel isolated, right? So would you ever move to Hawkesbury or Elliott Lake? No.
I found out Elliott Lake has black flies the size of my head. Don't go there.
Yeah, I believe it.
June and July.
Yeah, I grew up in Peterborough, so for me, like going into Toronto from Peterborough, I mean, I wouldn't say it was that much longer. It was probably, if I was going to like a Jays game or something, it'd be like maybe an hour and a half, hour and 45, depending on the 401. But like the culture is, I find too that like the culture of the town starts to change into less of a city vibe once you get a certain distance from the city. And that was one of the reasons why I kind of moved to like Hamilton / GTA, was because I was quite honestly, I was not a country bumpkin. I wasn't the guy who went to the Havelock Jamboree every summer. I would rather do things a little bit more in the city area and in the Toronto core than go out to the boonies and go camping for 5 days.
And yet Peterborough, I used to work in Toronto EMS, and for the guys in the east end of the city, Peterborough was a commuter town. Oh,
it is. It's always been, because its biggest employer up until about 15 years ago was the GE in Oshawa.
Yeah.
Like they used to have a dedicated, I don't think they still do. I think this was like back in the 80s and 90s. They used to have a dedicated, like a bus that would basically commute in all the different guys for each shift. So every, I don't know, say 6 hours, they would have a bus going from downtown Peterborough, which I don't know if I should call it downtown, but anyway, downtown Peterborough to the Oshawa plant. And it would just leave the station and go straight down there.
Really?
My uncle worked there for years. He retired when it kind of folded up its shop in 2008. He got a package. But like it's the problem too with that town is that it hasn't evolved really much, even since I was in my teens. Like I go back a few times a year to see family and holidays and stuff like that, but really nothing has changed. Like their mall got revamped and that's about it.
Doesn't seem to catch a break either, because they get the big employer, like Westinghouse went in right in the 80s, and then it went, nope, we're going to, I think New Jersey or no, West Virginia.
Yeah.
I think my brother had a friend that worked for GE. He ended up going up Westinghouse, sorry, from Hamilton up to Peterborough to keep his job because he had a young family. Thought this is great. And then before we knew it, we heard, he was going to West Virginia.
The hard thing with Peterborough is that it's you were talking about retirement communities earlier, Catherine. Peterborough has become the quintessential retirement community. There's more retirement homes there per capita, I think, than most towns in Ontario. Like,
wow.
you can't drive more than 2 minutes without seeing another retirement home. But so the problem is now you've got this dichotomy of people. The majority of the population in Peterborough are either people like me that grew up there and have never left, except I did leave. People that are retired, and people that are on government assistance. That's kind of the vibe of the city now. So it's hard to get labor for manufacturing and stuff like that when that's the kind of city that you're setting up shop in, right? I mean, yeah, it's probably cheap to set up a factory there compared to other towns, but where are you going to find guys to run it?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question. Here's a question for you. Okay, so if you're thinking about a location for investing, right? There's a lot of them around that are really inexpensive. As an investor, you pick a town like Cornwall, let's say, or I just checked out the prices at Niagara Falls, and that's not a cheap place to invest. But if you look at a place like Cornwall or out in that area, and you were to buy a property, and then eventually buy 3 or 4 or 5 different properties, you can now create your own, your own events, your own tours, your own whatever, to promote people going out there, right? So you pick one area and you buy up a number of different properties, and you have a little bit more control, as opposed to having a property in Cornwall, another one in Elliott Lake, another one where you have less control. What do you think of those ideas?
It makes sense. We have that property. We have a property in Fort Erie, and this is just because family, right? And now we have one in Niagara Falls. We're debating whether we're going to keep it or not. And it helps because then all your resources, a furnace goes down, or you need an electrician or a plumber. They're all within that distance that they're willing to go from Fort Erie to Niagara Falls. So you can you've got trusted tradespersons to do that kind of stuff. I find that's really helpful because I live out of the area, and I have for 30, 35, 36 years. And I was just going to say to Nathan, your city's going nowhere, or town that you grew up, when the population hasn't grown at 10,000 people since you left.
Well, Peterborough's grown a bit more than that since I left. I think when I left, it was 70. I want to say 74, and I think now it's like north of 90. So
did they have the highway going out there though when you left?
Yeah.
So the 115 was there,
Right?
but the 407 extension was not. So it was
okay.
That
The
time.
115 was there. Okay, all right.
The 115's been there since I was a teenager.
Yeah,
Okay.
11535. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
and the 407 extension, I think when I left, they may have just been extending it past the DVP, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah, that's got to be around 16, I would think, ish, because I had an instructor out there and went out there and went, wow, I can go all the way to Peterborough and pay $50 to do it.
Trust me, when you have 2 screaming kids and you're going to go visit family for Christmas,
it's worth it.
Like,
sure.
I just got my ETR bill from the hall for, when did we go there? When did we use the 407? Oh, we took it when we went to Kingston, actually, because, again, just bypassing GTA traffic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that extension is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But the 412 is nice because it's cheaper anyway.
Sure.
That's
Yeah, I like what you were saying about earlier, Ivan, about the whole consolidate your investments to one location as far as real estate goes, because you're almost creating your own like community, right?
Yeah, you could for sure, especially like some of these new construction places. Of course, I'm thinking about my backyard here, where they're putting up those 6 condo buildings. I can't imagine, Nathan, what a condo in a nice area right on the lake in Hamilton is going to be worth in 10 years, right? It's going to be a lot more than what they're charging for on pre-construction, right? So if you have the ability to invest in, 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartments here, I think it's a crazy investment, right? I think it's a crazy investment, especially because, I always think, oh, no, but you're not going to have a lot of increase in the value of your property because there's so much land that they're going to try and get, the Stelco, they're trying to get them out, whatever. So there's all that land that they can develop. Condos will always be available, but no, you know how long it took for this land to be turned around? It's taken forever, right? They're not going to develop that for another 50 years. Right? So
remediation makes it very costly and time consuming, and a lot of government bureaucracy that has to be addressed before you can use those lands.
So imagine if you were able to, over the next 3 years or whatever it is, pick up 4 or 5 condos here. First the equity in the next 10 years is going to be amazing, but also it's an ecosystem. You can even put together whatever you want down here. Have little barbecues for your folks or things to incentivize rentals, right? As Catherine was saying, folks that come in and do work, tradespeople.
Yeah, that's who I'd be barbecuing with, but yeah. But it's true though, because the cost, like Yuri was just saying, we're in those. He's in a different building, but we're in those 3 called Vista on Charlton. So it's right in between Wentworth and Wellington on Charlton East. It's right where the Sherman Upbound is. And those condos were sold in 17, but we didn't go in, I think it was in late 20, right? So that we got possession. And the highest cost for the penthouses were $1 million that are lake facing, bay facing, sorry. And they've sold.
Wow.
Right? So to think that something that is where Ivan is right on, and Teresa right on the bay, is not going to go up in cost or pricing, sorry, is, we've made like on paper 150,000.
Right.
Because I had to do something.
Since you bought it.
Since we bought it.
Amazing.
Right. And they've only been finished again. Actually, it hasn't even been a year since we've got ownership, but we were open to move in November of 2020.
Yeah, these properties here, they've limited it. I know that in the original drawings, they're only 3 floors high, right? Sorry, 3 condo floors high, and then the main floor is retail, right?
Okay.
So
4th story.
retail or restaurants or whatever it is, right? So So, I mean, even if they allow them up to 6 floors, because, sometimes they change their plans for density reasons, but still, you're not in a 20-floor building like mine. You're able to get the penthouse in a 6-floor building, not a lot of people around you. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what our buildings are. They were capped out at, ours was supposed to be 5, but they made it 6.
Okay,
So
you're in 6 floors. Awesome.
Yeah, it's only 6 floors, so we're on 4 out of 6 because it costs you, right? It's another couple grand every floor you go up.
Right.
And as you go up, it goes up. So it was like 1,000 for the 2nd floor, 2,000 for the 3rd floor, and I think it cost us another 25 or another 2,000 for the 4th floor, and it would have been 25 to get to the 5th floor. We called Uncle.
And then your maintenance fees go up by floor too, right?
No, yeah, they go up every year. You can guarantee that. So our building is not fully finished because of the supply chain. They're still saying so. We don't have access to our party room or activity room, whatever you want to call it, or our gym. There's nothing in it. I mean, they're all complete, but there's nothing in them.
Wow.
And our condo fees went up $5, but $5 times 60 apartment condos in 3 buildings, right?
Yeah, that's a treadmill right there. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, honestly, no, you know, it is interesting, but great investment opportunity here. But I'm also looking at places like this corridor from here to let's say Cornwall. You know, once you get past Coburg, right, you're pretty much seeing prices kind of come down, and Coburg is almost now part of the GTA now. I mean, when you hit Coburg, you know, the highway widens out, and it's you kind of feel like you're home when you're driving back from Quebec.
My first branch that I worked at was in Port Hope.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's family's from there, so I know Coburg and Port Hope very well. Yeah, you're right. It's become like an extension. In fact, I think that's becoming sort of the next community, sort of eastward out past Oshawa.
Right.
That is sort of becoming like, I think it's becoming sort of what Niagara is out here, where, you know, it's a little bit further outside the GTA, but people are just looking to get a little bit further and further as they're trying to almost stay outside of the wave of where people are going from
Totally.
the downtown core.
Yeah, I remember when Bowmanville, that was where the highway dropped down
Yeah.
into 2 lanes, right?
People still go to Bowmanville?
Sorry?
People still go to Bowmanville?
I just
The zoo, come on.
oh
My
right.
uncle lives there, but I haven't visited him in 15 years.
Yeah, Bowmanville. Wow.
I only know the place because
People still go to
I had a
Bowmanville.
company that had a satellite factory out there. Here's the problem. For the first few years I went, there was not a hotel that you wanted to stay at,
Mm.
I believe it.
right? But I can say the last 10 years, they've got like a Holiday Inn or Best Western, something like that, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's amazing. Yeah, I have some friends that live in Coburg, and they love it, but they're saying that Coburg is getting a little bit busy for them now. They're looking to move further out. I'm thinking, wow, you know, but they probably have such an increase in their property value now that,
yeah.
you know,
They're probably looking at like Brighton or something like that.
Yeah. Owen lives in one of our members. He
Yeah,
lives in
that's right.
Oshawa, or at Bowmanville, I mean.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
He actually bought some land. This is what Sheila and I are longing to do. He bought 3 acres of land, and then they're building an amazingly beautiful large home on that property. So he keeps going out and seeing it and taking pictures and sending it to me, and, you know, pissing me off and those kind of things. But yeah,
Should have married a
woods.
builder.
Yeah, I should have married Owen, you know. Yeah, so he's got that going on. But it's so nice, Sheila, that, you know, he has this house being built, lots of trees around, 3 acres. He said that there are fruit trees on the land, right? You know, we're not talking mangoes, you know, but we're definitely talking probably pears and apples and stuff.
Apples, yeah.
So it's kind of cool, right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. You know, and it's a lot of man, that when you become a landlord, it's interesting. I hear some of the paralegal stuff that goes on next door here. Our third office in the office, I even rented out to paralegal, and he seems to work a lot with landlords and tenants. And it's like, wow, there's a lot of crap going on.
Lots. You know, but
A lot of
you
it
could,
has to do with this present day, though, because there's been a lot of stuff going on just because of COVID, too, right? When it comes to tenancy problems, it's just been really just a nasty market, and that's part of the reason why
Yeah.
I love the thought of owning more land and or space that you can be a landlord, because it is the extra income. But I've always shied away from that only because the possibility of getting that one bad egg.
That's
right.
My brother owns a duplex up in Peterborough, and he bought it. It was right on the precipice of COVID. It was like 6 months before COVID, and he bought it knowing that there was a squatter in it. But he think, you know, his thought was, I'll just hire a lawyer. They'll take care of it all. I don't care. And I'm like, we went and saw him just before Christmas, and he said, yeah, we're still going through it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised, especially with COVID now, because the courts are slowed down. And then it seems to be like a lot of courts now are starting to favor the tenants not being kicked out than
Mhm. That's
the landlord or the prop or the superintendents.
Yeah. I think there was a moratorium on it for a while anyway, evictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
7 months, I think.
Yeah.
Did anyone hear about the proposed plan where you can purchase a house and in like a single family home, and then people can come in and they can buy the home next door to you and change it into like a fourplex, like change the entire building structure into like a apartment. They're proposing it. It's not passed, obviously, but I heard it this morning on the news on my way in that they're proposing where you will now be allowed to do something like that.
To convert your single family dwelling into a fourplex.
Yeah, if you want to rip down your house and put up a fourplex, you can in a single family home residential community.
Lot. Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things within that paperwork, so I don't know if it'll pass or not, but yeah, that's what they're talking about or proposing.
Is that municipality in the municipal or
within Hamilton area?
Okay.
So yeah, it must be. But yeah, that's what they're talking about, that it might not pass because a lot of people would be really against it because, if you bought a house next to an airport, then that would be fine. You really can't complain. But if you bought a house and they put an airport beside it or changed it into a whole different area, then you would have more of a right to complain, right? So basically it's you buy a single family home next door, someone comes in, buys the single family home, rips it down, puts a fourplex up there, and then you have
I'd be upset.
apartments right beside you.
yeah, but
Yeah,
you can
be
go in
weird.
now and just make it a fourplex anyway.
Yeah, you can make the house a fourplex for sure.
Because that would be different than, like, I know I've got a friend of a friend who owns a property off Upper James on the mountain, and originally his backyard backed onto vacant land, and then they built, what the heck was it? I think it was a hotel in behind Shoeless Joe's on Upper James near the link. So now he's got
The Marriott.
Oh, it's a Marriott?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got I don't know how many stories it is, say 5 stories, 5 stories of people looking into his back windows.
Yeah.
And they always have job fairs and, the golf thing, golf bonanza extravagant. Come get your golf clubs in January. And yeah.
You know what, Teresa? I wouldn't mind it so much if architectural controls stayed in place, right? But if they rip down the building, the house, and then they build something that looks like, an apartment, I'd have a problem with that, I think.
Yeah, there's supposed to be like 54 different things in there, so it's not regulated. They're not even talking about, the owner living in the space, like, it's just an apartment building that an investor owns and doesn't care about the community, right?
Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But it's just a proposal, so who knows where it'll go. But
Well, it's just a transition phase too, because we're saying, oh, I don't want that. But then after a while, everyone's got their property converted over to a fourplex, and then it's normal, right?
well, and that's the thing. Investors are going to want it because they don't care whether you're a single family home or not, right? They are going to make 4 rents out of that one property space.
That's right. And with the population growing, there's only so much land, right? We're going to keep going out, making the city bigger, or we're just going to increase density, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You remember Maggie, who used to work for you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was in one of those great big old homes right down by the Hamilton General.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all triplexes, she said, in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Her and her boyfriend had the main floor. But yeah, and it was one of those echo systems like you were talking about, Ivan, because she said the landlord was working on, the driveway between 2 of his homes. But yeah, she said just about every house down there, unless it was one of the seniors that was still there, was a triplex.
Right. But, and you think about it, right? In the future, we have to increase density, right? So how do you rethink, communities, especially if you happen to have some dough, like Nathan here, especially when his business kind of really takes over the world, buy a property and then create a smart community for the density of the future, right?
Here's the
Like
problem.
I've been looking at places in Indonesia, and the way that they build their buildings and their communities, and where everything can happen in a building, right? They've got, on the 10th floor, they happen to have a garden with a waterfall, and you can walk around. Then you go up 4 more floors, you have an open space that you can just walk around. That's where they, in movies, they kill people and throw them out. Like there's all kinds of amazing things that you could do in these buildings. I'd love
Here's
to
the
see some of that here.
Here's the problem, Nathan. You're in Ancaster or Dundas?
My office is in Ancaster, but I live on the mountain.
Oh, okay. So somebody like Michael who lives in Dundas, he's going to go, yeah, I think that's great on Wellington. Make them try. We need the population, but you ain't doing it here.
That's right.
Right? They're having that problem in Stony Creek. There are 2 older homes, so they're quite big lots right on Highway 8. And the city found, or the citizens found out that somebody was going to put in a 3-floor apartment building, and they freaked. And so the council person for that area, who shouldn't be there anymore, but anyway, they're thinking that they can come to a compromise by putting in 4 townhouses. Yeah, because the citizens want just 2 houses to replace. It ain't gonna happen. That's too big a property, isn't it, for today's rate?
Right.
And so, yeah, there's this back and forth, and these places are derelict. Like, they need to be taken down, but until somebody can come to a compromise, and we just finished knocking down the city government by saying, don't have urban sprawl.
Right.
Use the land you've got, but you get the burbs who aren't going to want to do it.
Yeah. You have to make it.
Everybody.
Yeah, you have to make it attractive, right? You have to make it attractive to people. But some people listen. Some people just don't want anything, right? There's vacant land behind them. To me, if you don't want somebody to build on that vacant land behind you, buy the land, right? You can't not buy the land and then tell the person who owns the land they can't do something with it, right? So,
they certainly put up a fight, though.
Yeah, listen, buy the land.
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
Ancaster, I had a friend that lived on this loader, so right off of Mohawk as you're coming in to Wilson, and there was vacant land and then a derelict house, and I forget what kind of multi residential unit they were going to put up, but I mean, it was going to be modern, it was going to be done tastefully, and the neighborhood put up such a fight that the guy just gave up.
I think I know the area. I drive that strip every day.
Yeah, it's like one street off of Wilson, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's funny because Ancaster was having that, what do they call the mini mansion sprawl for 5 or 6 years too, and then the city had to intervene on that, where people were taking these property lots that had a standard bungalow or 2-story semi-detached, that kind of thing, and putting houses that were 3 times the size, and you reach out the window and you're touching your neighbor's exterior wall type thing. And then I think it was only a few years ago the city finally came in and said no more of this.
Yeah,
it's funny to hear how some areas are we want the expansion, we want the new properties, we want to give the community a facelift, but then eventually the pendulum swings the other way and people start to say, no, we're done with this. It's not convenient for the people that have lived here for 25 years or whatever.
Yeah, they're right, because there's still one on the whatever Lover's Lane turns into, just before Jerseyville. There's a couple, we've noticed there's a couple of the older, the 50s or 60s bungalows like you're talking about that were up for sale. And we're going, they're just going to become these gigantic houses and inaccessible to the even above average income earners.
Mm-hmm.
I go out to Sammy's Diner on Jerseyville Road there for breakfast sometimes. And from like, I don't know if you guys know where my office is. It's right across the street from the Coach and Lantern, so it's closer to like Ancaster Mill in like sort of the
Okay.
Ancaster. That strip, there's probably at least 3 either dilapidated properties or lots with no property on them. And every time I drive past them, I'm like, that's going to be a condo building. That's going to be a condo building. That's going to be a condo building. There's nothing else that people would really want to do there, because Wilson Street itself has gotten really busy. So nobody wants to like. It was funny. I remember I walked past it one day. I sent a picture to my wife and I said, "What would you think about buying this land and building?" on that? And she goes, "On Wilson Street?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "No, too much traffic." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah. What do you do about it?
Yeah,
Single lane.
because you're there with you're looking at it with a young family though, right?
My kids will grow up.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying it's when we were looking at properties, we went to suburbs and we went on a court, that kind of thing, right? And as soon as the kids were grown, we got out of there and we went we lived on Brant Street, and now we're going to try and stay in that busy area so that it's easy to get to stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So listen, folks, before we wrap up today, I just want to remind everybody that the website's changing a little bit, that when you go to look for a show, like a link to one of the calls, right? Typically you would go to the homepage and you go to the show and you click on it and then you find the link and you click on that. But because we're as COVID is lifting, we're now kind of locking down access to the calls. So it's basically members only or guests of members. The links are going to be found in the back end. So I don't know if any of you have logged in to and have you gone to the homepage when you log in and seen the list of all the calls? You've done that, right? Okay, good. Have you, Nathan?
So funny enough, I was struggling a little bit to find the event for this call because I didn't have the Zoom link. So I ended up going to the homepage, like thisgreatcity.com. I scrolled down to where the list of the events were, clicked on the Yuriy one, and then joined from there.
Okay, yeah. So that link is going to go. I left that on there just in case, because not a lot of people know about it. But just to let everybody, I'm going to just go ahead and share screen just for one moment, if you don't mind, just so that everybody kind of knows. You can see my screen. This is the dashboard. Obviously, when you're in your dashboard area, you're going to notice the home button here. When you click on the home button, then this page pops up. And on this page, you'll see all of our calls. You can view the event page or you can enter the event, right? So no matter what it is, of course, we have some surveys for you guys. We have our upcoming networking events. All the links are going to be here so that you can find it. So just don't worry about it. The links are always going to be here, no matter what we're doing. Just you have to, unless it's an event that's being held by, let's say Nathan's doing an event, that's a Nathan event, then Nathan can put whatever links he wants into those events. But anything that's a This Great City Nathan event or This Great City event or whatever it is, those are all going to be here with the link. All right. So definitely check it out. And once you get here, don't worry, you can still get back to your dashboard by just clicking on the dashboard link and it'll take you back. Okay.
Did I see that one of the membership levels changed its name to like coffee
Access.
access? Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny you should ask.
I call it our light one when I refer to it.
Yeah, it was like the lowest tier. It was like $100 a year.
Yeah. So this is something that has been added. This is a new level. Okay. So we didn't change the name of it. It's for people who they don't really want a listing. They don't want a directory listing really, because it's going to be more like a Yellow Pages basic listing, where it's just your company name and your address and phone number, but it's not going to have like a link to your website or any of that. It's just a basic listing. And you only get access to the morning coffee call. So that's what this is here. Basic directory listing, morning coffee call, and it includes one person in the membership. So that's awesome. We have a lot of people who don't participate in anything else, and they just want access to the morning coffee call. I'm not egotistical. I don't think it's because of me. I just think it's because of the atmosphere. But the point is that we created this plan just for them so they can sample, and hopefully then during the year they realize how awesome we are, and then they upgrade and they become full participants. Yes, and I'll be going through, of course, the back end training again on Thursday, tomorrow. Wow, the week is flying, eh, Catherine?
I know.
How did that happen? It's
I
really,
don't know.
you know. So yeah, you can join me tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. And Women's Business Club tomorrow, right, Sheila?
And the Women's Business Club. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Tech
Yeah.
Talk.
And
Oh, yeah.
of course, the
Thursday,
tech talk,
yeah.
of course.
Money Matters on Tuesday.
That's right. Yes, I
Yeah,
know. And in
that's
fact, I'm going to be
Yes,
adding
you
that.
are.
I'm going to be adding that to that page.
Yeah, well, one of our coffee morning sponsor, we were going to do a couple mornings there, and we were like, oh, 15th, so sorry, can't help you next week, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So and you have the expansion of the battery thing on Thursday, right, Catherine? You're going to be chatting more about batteries and.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff, especially with the heat pumps and stuff like that, and trying to get it up so Canadians will be more enticed.
Awesome.
Yeah, good luck on that one.
And Catherine, not to put more work on you, but if you have a little blurb of what you're going to do on the WBC on Thursday, I'm going to send out the reminder.
Oh, the
So I just want to
networking. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to put your topic and
Okay.
little blurb.
And Catherine, I don't want to put any more work on you, but you know, there is that Canadian electric vehicle company that I heard about. They're putting out
the Arrow.
the Arrow, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Arrow is a
Yeah.
very sexy one. In fact, it'd be amazing to be able to get somebody from the Arrow to come onto our call.
Mhm. Wow.
Okay, I was actually thinking about this morning. Sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
how come they haven't made a high a minivan for families that is electric? Yeah.
Because they're still working on, we'll see how GM works on those heavier vehicles and that need the torque and the pull
Yeah.
and all
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why they've always been the smaller sedans, like the Ioniq 5, which has been Hyundai's really big one, right? But
Mhm.
you're sorry?
Can I give my theory?
Yeah.
So Tesla has the Model S, the Model 3, the Model X, and the Model Y.
Right.
You look at it in that order, it spells sexy.
That's right.
Right.
What is sexy about a minivan?
Nothing, but they do have a 6-seater, so I do like that one. I do
Yeah,
like
well, the
6-seater.
Model Y, which is the smaller SUV, you can get a 7-seater. I looked at one and it's tight.
You know what?
Yeah.
Listen, I've never seen if this truck is rocking, don't bother knocking, or this car is rocking, don't bother knocking. It's always if this van is rocking. That's what's sexy
True.
about the van. Okay.
This is true.
Yeah. Okay.
Nathan's not old enough to know about Shag, so.
Oh, okay.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, you're born a couple decades too late, man.
Yeah.
A couple decades too late, or you guys were born a couple decades too early?
Really,
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what?
Yeah, there's like so much stuff. I've got more note to self in my inbox
Yeah.
between the
I
two.
bet.
But yeah, I'll get you something off, Teresa, because I'm vacating at 1:15 today. So
Awesome.
Okay.
You deserve it, Catherine.
I was
You
here
do.
till 7 last night.
Yeah,
doing
I know.
networking. Yeah, I have a Stony Creek networking that we do, and Ivan was there last night, and we had a good time.
That was
We had
good.
lots of people.
That was
We
good.
had Troy, New York,
Yeah.
St. Louis, Missouri, right?
Yeah,
Everyone was
St.
from-
Louis, Missouri. Yeah.
yeah, and
That's
Mike
Alberta.
Axe is from Red Deer. That's
Red
the
Deer.
one in
Oh,
between
nice.
Calgary and
Yeah, Edmonton. Yeah.
Edmonton, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Wow.
And then the rest of them
All
were
over the
from
place.
Hamilton.
Yes, we were all from Nathaniel, because I kept calling him Nathan, right?
Yeah,
Nathaniel, he was Upper City, I think,
that's right. Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then we were trying to, I wasn't sure how familiar Alberta was with our part of Ontario, and it's like, okay, don't take offense, but we call the escarpment the mountain, okay? We know it's not your mountain, but it's ours.
That's right. It's a hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hill. Yeah.
And we're damn proud of it.
That's
Have you ever been down here, Sheila, to know what we're talking about?
Not really. I
Okay,
have to see when every, like, because I've only just sort of driven by, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you know the St. Clair Reservoir up at Spadina?
No.
It's behind Casa Loma?
Yes.
Okay, so you know that climb going up?
Yes.
Because that's the escarpment for Toronto, right? So
Yes.
our escarpments, the access only goes from Davenport to St. Clair. So our accesses are like this. There are a lot of switchbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, not starting at DuPont and going. Ours are just like, real shorties. So
Oh man.
yeah, so it's the same idea. You guys just don't consider it a mountain because you have such a long approach on all your streets, right? But that's why your buses can't get up at your young, what do they call it? Summer Hill
Yes.
on Avenue, right?
Yeah.
In the wintertime and stuff like that. There's a liquor store there, so we used to have to pick people up all the time. So I'm familiar with that location,
But
Like,
yeah,
it's fun to ride those Australian paths up the hill before with buying a bus. Takes you 45 minutes to get up there.
Oh, sorry, Sheila, what were you going to say?
no, I'm even for Toronto, I'm not as familiar because anything south of where I am, I'm very hesitant to drive into because it's already like, too close to downtown for me.
Oh, gotcha.
So the furthest south I've ever really had to drive, even for a job, is where I live, which is Don Mills and Lawrence, but I only had to drive to Rosedale. So that's the furthest.
Lawrence isn't very south, then.
No, but if you look at all the construction that's going on right now,
Yeah.
you really don't want to go anywhere, even just crossing Eglinton costs you 20 minutes at least just to cross Eglinton. So
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. And it's funny, my daughter doesn't think of the city exists north of St. Clair. Right? Like even St. Clair was pushing it, but she used to live on Huron, which is Spadina and Davenport DuPont. And that was one of her running paths was the St. Clair Reservoir. But yeah.
I lived at like off Wellesley, right near Bay.
Oh, wow.
I did for about a year because I was transitioning. And a friend said that, why don't you use my condo for the bit while I transitioned, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out really well because it was so close to the subway. But honestly, it was weird to be down there. I hadn't been down there since being in school.
And that's where you are, right in the middle of the U of T, right?
Yeah. So that made it different.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Mr. Ivan, we all done?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying a note to the Arrow company.
Oh, good.
I'll just say, hey, call me. Let's see if we can get you on our call. Anyway.
Well, I just got an insurance lady, so good. I'm glad somebody else is sending letters.
Okay, good. All right, everybody. Have an amazing day. Thanks for jumping on.
Bye.
Hopefully we'll see you
Bye,
back
Bye,
next
everyone.
week.
See you tomorrow.
All right. Take care.